Like if you go to the rural areas, majority of the toilets there are the ones that there's a hole and you go and
Latrines.
squat. Those latrines, you just go and squat. Now this Mzee is 81 years. You want him to go and squat. How does he squat when his knees cannot even be able to bend? You get? And these are real issues, by the way. You know, sometimes we sit in towns and we sit in boardroom meetings, very good hotels, and we never think about that person who has that. The other thing I realized is that a lot of young people actually abandon their parents a lot. And this happens in Muranga quite in a high percentage. I used to see old men come to hospital. They stay there for a week, they are discharged, and they refuse to go home. And why they are refusing to go home is because they have nobody to go to. They don't know where. In fact, there is one Mzee who asked me, sasa ukinitoa hapa unipeleke nyumbani, nitaenda kwa nani? Sina chakula, sina mtu wa kuniangalia, watoto wangu walienda ng'ambo, naishi peke yangu. During my time when I was in the office, I used to see delays, a lot of delays in disbursement of the money for the wazee. And let me tell you, every time when you do delay of disbursement, you are not sure whether that money will find that Mzee. And so many of them died while they are still in the system of disbursement, and they never got that money.
Hello viewers, and welcome to Lucy Mure Network. And thank you so much for the continued support you have given us, subscribing, watching, liking, commenting, and sharing. It has really moved the information that we wanted to reach every Kenyan. There's no any other way we can reach everyone except by sharing and letting the information that is so inspiring and educative to others. Please let us be our brother's keeper and share this information. Like I've always said, life starts. You start from the day you are born. Aging starts from the day you are born. Today you are 1 year and 1 minute. Tomorrow you'll be 1 year and 1 day. So this thing about older persons, it's not for anyone, it's not for the older people only, it is for all of us. It is for you, a young person, it's for you, the older person, it's for you, the retiring person, it's for you, the retired person. The information is helpful to everyone. Let us continue sharing. I told you we'll be bringing specialists and people, stakeholders within different kinds of fields of information, and that is going to help us. Today, we have a very, very special and unique guest, and this guest has been the CEC for Muranga County for over 10 years, and before then he has worked in other areas in this country that he has gained plenty of information that today you should be able to share with us about his experiences, especially with the county governments and the care of our elderly persons. And with us, we have Honorable Joseph Mbai. Mheshimiwa, how are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
We are so happy you are here.
Thank you.
And we came to Muranga, your home county now.
Welcome to Muranga.
Yes,
yes.
We are glad you welcomed us.
Thank you. Yes.
And we are happy that you're willing to share with our viewers who are your people and who is our people.
Good.
My voice, your voice, our voices becomes the voice of our elderly who need the voice. Mr. Mbai,
yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Mbai for the viewers who have not maybe interacted with you and know how awesome you are? Just talk to them, tell them who you are.
Thank you, Lucy. First of all, I would like to introduce myself in a very simple way and say that my name is Joseph Mbai. I come from a place called Ithanga in Muranga County, which is in Gatanga constituency. And I have a lot of experience in terms of dealing with the community because since I've completed university, I have been working in companies that deal with community issues. And my last assignment which was the CEC of Health in Muranga County, under the leadership of Governor Mwango, I was able to interact with a lot of community issues, and especially on this particular subject you are discussing today of the elderly. And I remember very well that for us in Muranga County, we had a deliberate move to support the elderly. And we did it in a very simple manner. We had a program called Wajane Wetu, which used to take care of the elderly women and men who had lost their loved ones, their spouses. And let me tell you, we realized that every time when we called those women, they would come in numbers. I remember in one meeting we said, we want to see Wajane Wetu, all the elderly women who lost their husbands and they are above 70 years. We got more than 1,000.
What?
Yes.
In Muranga only?
Yes.
Wow.
In Muranga only. And we had that program where we used to give them food, we used to give them ungar, we used to give them cooking oil, rice, sugar, and a package that would last them like 2 or 3 months. And then we would do that like twice a year, but the numbers kept on swelling. And we also realized that there were other old men also who had lost their wives. Some had remarried and others had not. But the problem of the elderly in Muranga County, according to my experience, is real. It's actually real. And while we were actually attending to those, we also came across others that had different issues. Some of them were sick. You would find an elderly person with a disease like prostrate, whether it was benign or malignant. That was the issue of the doctors to determine, but they were there. Then we also found a lot of them with chronic conditions like hypertension and diabetes. And we decided to get a solution for them.
Wow.
And Lucy, let me tell you, we looked at those people who were suffering from diabetes and hypertension, and we realized they had a problem. And what was their problem?
What was it?
Number one, their problem was affordability of the drugs they were using. So they were not able to buy hypertensive drugs, antidiabetics, they were not able to buy. And we developed a program whereby we decided to take the burden on the county in the Department of Health.
You came up with a program?
Yes. And we, like now, we devolved the places where they were picking their medications.
Wow.
Like in Kigumo Hospital, we had more than 3,000 picking medicines there for diabetics and hypertension every single month. Older persons. Wow. Then we had the same in Muranga, we had the same in Kirwara, and they were picking those medications every month. And how did we identify them? Using our community health volunteers, in each unit, we made sure that every patient who suffered diabetes and hypertension has been registered, and we even went ahead and registered which medications were they taking.
Wow.
So by the end of the month, we were able to know a certain cohort is taking these medications, these ones are taking these medications, and we would buy that as a county and take to them. And let me tell you, it really helped.
Wow.
For areas where far-reached to go areas like Idhanga, like Kakuzi Mitubiri, like Ikaturi, we did outreach. We register them, we know there are 300, and then that particular day of the month, when their stocks of medication are out, we send a doctor to go and review them and give them the medication. And we did that for a period of 7 years.
Wow.
So, if governments want to take care of the elderly in the counties, they can. We did it and it worked. The other thing I realized is that a lot of young people actually abandon their parents, a lot. And this happens in Muranga quite in a high percentage. I used to see old men come to hospital. They stay there for a week, they are discharged, and they refuse to go home. And why they are refusing to go home is because they have nobody to go to. They don't know where. In fact, there is one mzee who asked me, sasa ukinitoa hapa unipeleke nyumbani, nitaenda kwa nani? Sina chakula, sina mtu wa kuniangalia, watoto wangu walienda ng'ambo, naishi peke yangu. So you find a mzee is not willing to go home because at the hospital he's getting a place to sleep, he's getting cleaned, he's getting taken care of, he's getting food, and it wasn't one mzee or two, there were many. Especially during COVID time, it was even worse. Because many who came with problems of COVID, and they were, you tell them when you go home, make sure you sanitize, you wash your hands, keep your compound clean. They ask you, now when you tell me these things, how do I go do and I'm alone? So it was, some of them had really issues. There's a time we had another issue also of a mzee who, I remember receiving a call and a guy said, there's a mzee here who is very sick and he needs an ambulance. You know, in Muranga we had a system of ambulance where we used to pick patients and it was free of charge. We never used to charge our ambulance. We used to pick patients from home, bring them to hospital, treat them and take them back, free of charge. So,
so it is doable?
It is doable. We were called, and then I remember there was no ambulance. So I told my driver, why don't we go and pick that mzee? So we drove and we went. In a village just here in Kiharu. So when we arrived, I went to speak to the mzee myself. And where he was sleeping, the bed didn't have a mattress. The mzee was sleeping on a heap of clothes. You know the way you pick
dirty,
not dirty necessarily, but old clothes. And then you align them on the bed so they become now like the mattress. So I looked at how that mzee was sleeping and I was like, no. Then I asked him, how old are you? He told me 79. So I said, at the age of 79, you are sleeping on such a kind of a thing. The mzee was not even sick. His problem was that he had stayed for 4 days without eating anything. And in that homestead, there is there's a lady married by his son. There's a daughter-in-law there in that homestead who was living in the same compound but a far place at the corner there. And I was like, mzee shida ni nini?
Na ni mtu moja tu, sahani moja.
He told me, I haven't eaten for 4 days. So I told my driver, okay, fair enough, just go up there, buy me bread and milk and bring. So he brought milk and bread. And this mzee, because now he was trembling, I held him, I tried to give him the milk, but you see, it was still pouring because he was not even able to swallow properly. So I realized handling him there is not going to help much. So I put him in the vehicle, I brought him to the hospital, and he had to be kept on some drips so that he can regain his energy and all that. So that's an isolated case, but there are many others out there which are like that. So when we went back, because after 3 days of stay in the hospital, he was reluctant to go back to that homestead. But I convinced him, I told him, don't worry, I'll take care of you. So if you don't have a son, from today, register that you have a son. So I took him back, and then I went and called that lady now who is married by his son. And the lady told me, you know, I'm married in this homestead. My husband left 1 year ago. He has never come back. We don't know where he went. I have 3 children. I take care of them. But every time I get food, I try. Sometimes I give mzee, sometimes I don't get. So I told her, I'll give you supply of food for a whole year.
Wow.
But make sure this mzee eats. And then I'll be coming every other month to check. But I realized because I am a busy person and I have a busy schedule, I called the community health volunteer of that village.
Wonderful.
And I told her, this mzee is your case. If you go out of food, come. We supported that family until I left the county government.
You don't know now if it
I don't know now
continued.
whether it continues or what happened, but again now, that's doable. Then the other thing is that we used to have also these elderly people who used to walk to our offices. I had like more than 10 women who would walk every month to my office to come to look for something to eat, for medication, and I would want to advise the county governments. I think it is very important to have a budget for the elderly.
Okay, let me talk to him. Mr. Mbai, I don't know, this thing you're talking about, Muranga, I'm just so shocked because this is Muranga, this is central, this is where even if there is relief food, no one thinks about it because they think this is where the place where people are okay. You see, remember even when the relief food comes in the country, I don't think there's any food which has ever been brought in central because they think they are self-reliant. So this case, viewers, the case of elderly being hungry, lacking food, and also the question of loneliness, it is there, it is real. If it is happening here, at the doorstep of Nairobi, in Muranga and Kiambu, then that is how the ground is. Mr. Mbai, you talked about if the government wants to help, they can help. This is not the question of, I think the only place in the laws of Kenya, in the constitution, that the government is held accountable, it is helping the people, the older persons. That is the only place the older persons in any law, in the policy frameworks, they are mentioned. The Constitution 2010 of Kenya states clearly on Article 57, it is the responsibility of the family and the government to take care of the older persons. And in this case, when we talk about the government, it is not just the national government. It is the county government, also their government. And it is very sad if one county like yours, you could adjust those but without laws. Because what you're saying you did help, if there was a policy on it through the county assemblies on how the elderly need to be treated, you would not be worried if the care for that old mzee is continuing. So I think the gap of framework, policy frameworks, it must be there. If you are talking, let us talk about the policy framework because it's the responsibility of the government and the family to take care of the elderly. Unfortunately, when a lot of us talk about family, they are talking about your sons and daughters. There are many Kenyans or older persons here who have even no children. Are they not going to be taken care of? Imagine, it's unfortunate we hear, like from your story, you says, my family walienda ngambo. Ngambo, and your father is here suffering, cannot even eat. Mr. Mbai, I would like you now to talk to our government that you have worked for over 10 years. County government, I think even actually I haven't met with anyone who has exclusively worked with the county government and as a minister of health, because the biggest challenge that our elderly people have, it is a question of medication because of the illnesses and loneliness. That is key, and it should be falling on the Ministry of Health. Actually, we are been talking about the social protection, but this about health, it is the Ministry of Health, and the health has been devolved.
Yes.
So even we cannot everything talk about the national government. From the county government point of view, look at our county government. Talk to our county assemblies. What do we need to do so that when you leave the county as a good CEC that you were, you should not be worried about, I was going to help that mzee, I'm not sure if the support continued. And actually that support was coming from you, I guess, as a person individually. How can the government be serious and take care of our elderly in this county? Talk to our county government.
Thank you, Lucy. Number one, I want to start by thanking the national government for doing the Inuajamii stipend that they give every month. During my time, when I was in the office, I used to see delays a lot of delays in disbursement of the money for the wazee. And let me tell you, every time when you do delay of disbursement, you are not sure whether that money will find that mzee. And so many of them died while they are still in the system of disbursement, and they never got that money. But if the money is intended to help, please send it early so that they can get help. At least now I can see the government is sending the money on monthly basis. That makes a lot of sense. But then national government will do that. But what is the role of county governments in dealing and helping the elderly? My experience dictates that, number one, each county government needs to set aside some budget to put food on the table for the elderly, especially the ones that have no one to take care of them. Not all elderly people have nobody to take care of them, but quite a number have no one to take care of them. Those particular ones can be identified by the community health volunteers. And we have done it, it has worked. You give community health volunteers a week in their village, they will tell you which elderly, which mzee, which mama is old and has no one to take care of them. I did it and I know it works.
You did it as a Minister of Health?
Yes, when I was a Minister of Health, I did it. Then, once they identify them, let them also look at what are their issues. Because one could be free from diabetes and hypertension, but they are hungry. Give them food. If you find they have hypertension and diabetes, give them medication. It's expensive, yes, but you must make a deliberate move to provide for that because it is necessary. And then the county governments also needs to develop a system of treatment for the elderly. If an elderly person comes to the ward, if you are putting a mzee together with the young vijanas of 20, 30 years in the same ward, they cannot relate.
Not even ward, the same bed.
They can't relate. Yeah. So you don't give that old man dignity. So what I want to ask the county governments, especially the leadership, the governors and the county assemblies, please let us come up with a policy that gives our elderly dignity as they grow old. And let us not forget that we are also getting there. You know, sometimes we talk about the elderly as if they come from the trees. It is us who will get old. In the next 15, 20 years, we shall be there. And that now brings in now the issue of planning, Lucy. Families also need to plan how they age, because this one now is a society issue. We may sit here so much blaming the government, but the family has also a responsibility to make sure that in the family, they know who is getting old. Like now, any family who has people who are 60 years right now, they know in the next 10 years, that person will be requiring support. They can start probably saving for that kind of requirement. And we have, like now, when you look at Equity Bank right now, they have a very good program for saving. And families can use that to save money for their elderly. So the government and the family must work together to make sure that planning is proper for the elderly. But in the event that now a person didn't plan and then got old and then they were abandoned, their children are gone, nobody comes back to see them, they are sick, nobody can take them to the hospital, then the government can use the community health volunteers, they can use even the office of the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, to just identify and develop Nyumba Kumi and develop a program which can actually help the elderly so that they can be able to be supported. But in health facilities, I would really recommend the old to be put in their separate wards so that even when they are in the ward, they can relate, they are able to talk to their age mates and be able to see. Then I'm also seeing nyumba ya wazee, nyumba za wazee, the homes for the elderly, where where people are taken to go and grow old aggressively. But according to my opinion, I may not encourage so much elderly people to be taken to nyumba ya wazee if there can be a family support system whereby they can be supported in their homestead, where they are comfortable, they can walk around, they can move. It is better than to take them to a home of the elderly.
But now, mheshimiwa, hiyo ya the family support, like you just said, an elderly said, older person saying, my children left. You remember our heritage, our customs, the way we used to live before. Even you, I'm sure you're not even living on the homestead of your father. So all the children are gone and you are there by yourself. So who is this person? You know there is taking, and we are not talking about the money. There's a difference between about money and the care. You could be, you had a case here in Vika, I'm sure you know, of someone who is well off, nice home, but lonely and just died in the house for 9 months where no one knew. And even the son, he claimed he was sending money, 20,000 standing under every month. So when you say that you are discouraging this, that's your opinion. But I'm saying now, things have changed. Children are all over the country. You find people coming from Eldoret, from where they are working here in Thika. Where are they going to hang around with their parents? Where you moved from? I moved from Meru, I'm in Nairobi. Where am I going to hang around with my parents? So the structures means it's not, and maybe even those children, some of them, like now the problem of unemployment, they can be there. These days, children have become actually liability to their parents. They are the ones who are bringing even their children. Maybe you have seen that in the villages. They bring children to their elderly parents because they cannot even afford feeding their children. Now, what do you think that can be done there now?
You know, I am a strong believer of family.
Yes.
Because I know families are the ones that form communities.
Yeah.
Communities form societies, and societies form nations.
Yeah.
Now, why I was saying that where families can get support from their own, it's better.
Like the families,
yes,
not just children.
Yes.
You know, family, we have extended families in our cultures, where your uncles, your what, I like when you said you identify people who are aging in the next 10, 20 years in your family. You can even pool and have a pool, a basket for, oh, I know this side, my grandmother, my father. Then you are like, you start thinking about your parents. You are, I think that's
why I was saying.
It's not just the wale watoto umeza.
Yes.
No.
In the family, because in the African societal setup,
families
we have extended families.
Yes.
And this can be done, I mean, Lucy, because if people can be able to look at it and see, we have 3 or 4 people who are aging here. How do we support them?
And it is coming.
And it is coming. Number one, we know age comes with diseases. Okay? Even if you don't get very sick, you'll have some aches here and there.
Yeah.
Do we have a system of support? Do they have a medical card? You can even decide as a family, let's all of them be in NHF. At the bare minimum, there should be a medical card for every elderly person. Where if they got sick and they wanted admission, they can land even at the bare minimum in a public hospital, where all the bills can be paid by that card. Very, very important. So if we really want to take care of our elderly, we must have that. NHF card, very, very critical. So that anyone gets sick, they can get admitted. Secondly, look at what are they eating. Okay? Then thirdly, are there any who have gotten disabilities because they are of their age? You know, like if you go to the rural areas, majority of the toilets there are the ones that there's a hole and you go and squat. Those latrines. You just go and squat. Now, this Mzee is 81 years. You want him to go and squat. How does he squat when his knees cannot even be able to bend? So what is the provision do you put as a family to take care of that Mzee who needs to go to the toilet and they cannot be able to squat? You get? And these are real issues, by the way. You know, sometimes we sit in towns and we sit in boardroom meetings, very good hotels, and we never think about that person who has that problem.
Yeah.
So it's real, Lucy. I thank God you have decided to deal with it. Don't stop. Please go all the way.
Thank you.
Go all the way, deal with it. But there are issues.
The issues are
And
there.
remember, it's a society issue.
Yeah.
Because even some of us in the society have not even accepted that the elderly needs to be supported.
Wow.
That's why they even run away and they don't care.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was a message from Honorable Mbai. It is our responsibility, the young ones, aging starts from the day you were born, and it is there, it is real, you want to do it. Our families, our communities, let us all hands together as we celebrate next month the day for the International Elderly Day. Let us remember that. Let us all hands together. And as we finish, we have an hashtag that we say, Zote tuwajibike, tutunze wakongwe. One more time. Zote tuwajibike, tutunze wakongwe. Thank you.